if anybody's on here yet or not, so we're just gonna chit chat and talk for a little while. We're gonna make our dressing for Thanksgiving. So I thought I'd come on tonight. I know Bryant told you guys that we would do a lot of lives tomorrow, so why not start the night before when a lot of the prep is actually taking place. One thing I'm gonna do before everybody gets on, I have pre-sauteed some onions and celery over here, and my recipe calls for melted butter. And so instead of messing up another pot, I'm just gonna throw this in there with the with the sauteed celery and onions, and that way I don't have to mess up another dish. So let's talk about this. Let me first of all tell you, this is not cornbread dressing, but it is dressing. And let me tell you, I have made cornbread dressing all of my entire life, with the exception up until about 10 years ago. And this is by far better than the cornbread dressing. So don't knock it till you try it. At least try it before you say, ooh. But let me tell you, I've got here in this pot, I don't know if you guys can see, but I made Hypocrite biscuits, and that is canned biscuits. So I have about, I think there's 7, because I had a little biscuit thief come in and take one of them. I think that would be Brian. So anyway, and I'm actually doubling my recipe tonight. So when we go off of the live, I will give me just a few minutes after we go off of live, and I will put the actual recipe down in the description of the live video. And before we go any further, let me just go ahead and say Happy Thanksgiving to each and every one of you. And I'll say this again tomorrow, but I know some of you may not have time to jump on tomorrow. But I appreciate you guys, and I love you guys with all my heart. So anyway, in here are the 7, I think there was 7 biscuits left. I also grabbed a hamburger bun and crumbled it up. I just broke it up, and I made my biscuits yesterday, so they're day old. Now what else I have in here, I have 2 bags of, this takes the place of the cornbread that you would normally put in cornbread dressing. I use 2 bags of the blue Pepperidge Farm herbed classic stuffing. Now you can use the yellow bag if you want. I prefer this, but I will tell you, I like this hands down better than any cornbread dressing that I used to make. I'm walking over here out of the camera, but I also want to tell you, we put meat in ours. I'm checking my butter, hang on. And I just lightly saute these onions and celery just to get a little bit of the crunch off. You do not have to saute. I do because Bryant does not really care for to bite into a crunch, and if by chance, anyway, just to appease him, I saute the celery and onions. But we also put meat in our dressing, and that is a nice little surprise, and it can actually serve as it could actually serve in a meal of itself. So I bought a rotisserie chicken, and we have picked the meat off of that rotisserie chicken, and this is just the white meat. So I'm going to put all the white meat in here. Remember, I am doubling this recipe. So I'm not going to give you actual measurements. That'll be in the video and the description. After we go off and you give me time to put it on there. And if there's any really big pieces of meat, I'm going to go in here and break them up a little bit. All right. Okay, so I'm going to cut my butter off and onions. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and just dump that in. I have the butter that I sauteed the onions and celery in, and that stick of butter. Keep in mind, I am doubling my recipe, so with the exception of eggs, I don't think I'm using quite the doubled amount of eggs, but I'm using extra eggs, but not the full doubling, just because I can't spare all my eggs. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of stir that around. Each thing I put in here, I give it a little stir. All right, so now let's add in, where's my spatula? I add in a cream of chicken soup. This gives it just a creaminess. Now we like a very moist dressing, and we like to be able to cut it out in squares. And so this just gives it that extra little.
Whippoorwill Holler said hello.
Hey, how are you, Miss Lori? Happy Thanksgiving. Miss Lori is one of my mentors on YouTube. She, if you haven't ever seen her channel, you need to go check it out. It's Whippoorwill Holler. It's her and Mr. Brown.
Chef Jeffrey from Old School said hello.
Look, there's my Chef Jeffrey. All my YouTube mentors are on here. Now I'm nervous. I don't normally do cooking lives. Usually my lives are when I'm sitting there and it's what's the word I'm looking for? Where it's a controlled environment. It's a controlled environment. Okay, so now I'm going to add in, you can use milk, you can use half and half, you can use heavy cream, whatever you got. I just happen to have some evaporated milk, and I'm going to add that in. Again, I'm doubling my recipe. And a lot of this dressing is just a start. You go with it where you want to. If you don't like onions, then leave the onions out. If you don't like celery, leave the celery out. If you think it needs more liquid, add more liquid. And the thing is, I'm going to show you you won't see the finished product tonight. If you watch me tomorrow, you'll see the finished product tomorrow. I'm going to just get it ready tonight and stick it in the refrigerator, but we won't bake it till tomorrow. You don't have to do that. You can bake it the same day. I'm just trying to lighten my load for tomorrow. Okay, I have some chicken broth here that is made with chicken base. I didn't have time to cook down my carcasses, but let me show you that. These are my rotisserie chicken bones and some meat left that we'll
and skin,
and we'll make some chicken broth with that. Now, like I said, you want a certain texture. So that's what I want to show you is the texture you want to get before you bake it.
And remind them, you'll put the recipe in the description.
The recipe, as soon as we go off of live, I will take a few minutes and sit down and put the recipe down in the description of the live video. I have a lot of people who don't know where to find who are unsure how to find the instructions. If you're on your phone and underneath the video, there's a drop down, there's a little arrow that points down. If you hit that arrow, it pulls up the description. And if you're on your laptop, I think it's right under the video, and sometimes you have to hit these words that say show more, and it'll drop down and show you what's in there. All right, I'm going to add just a little bit more broth.
Miss Lori says she needs to get a big bowl like that.
Oh, I have 2 of them, and they are wonderful. I love to make my granola in this bowl. Miss Lori, you know what you need to make in this? You need a bowl like this for your kitchen sink cookies. I was amazed at your bowl. I mean, at that huge amount of cookie. So this bowl would come in handy for I think that's what you called them, the kitchen sink with the cornflakes and stuff. All right. So before I add any more liquid, I'm going to add in some eggs. Now, this recipe calls for quite a few eggs, And like I said, I'm doubling the recipe. I keep saying that. But I'm not quite doubling the eggs because the recipe calls for a lot of eggs anyway. I think it calls for like 4 or 5. So I'm putting in 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 6 here. So I'm going in with 6 eggs.
Dishpan cookies.
Dishpan cookies. That's right. That's it. Dishpan, see? Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, so I'm going in with 6 eggs, and I'm just beating them up a little bit. You don't have to. You can just dump them in. All right, slide everything out of my way. Now, after I get the eggs mixed in, that's when we'll determine if I need more liquid. And you're going to be amazed at how moist we get this. And then tomorrow, if you check back with us, you'll be amazed at how it turns out to where you can just cut it out. It looks like you'd be able to spoon it, but it's actually looking really good. Okay, let's season it up. Let's take a few minutes and season. The only thing I put in it is salt, pepper, and sage.
Somebody asked where you got the bowl from. Was it Sam's Club?
A viewer sent me this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my other one came from Sam's Club, maybe. I think it did. A viewer sent me this cute little scoop, and I love it. Okay. And I'm just guessing on maybe a teaspoon and a half of black pepper. And I know that looked like a lot, but this is the big pan of dressing. I won't use quite as much salt because my chicken broth has some salt in it, and the breadcrumbs might have some salt in it as well. This is a smaller scoop. Okay, now let's get our sage. This is where I go heavy-handed. I think sage just belongs in dressing. And I think sage gives my house that smell of Thanksgiving. So I'm probably going in with two hefty tablespoons of sage. All right. Now, my mama always boiled eggs and put in her dressing. It's funny, Bryant and I were just talking about it. His family put boiled eggs in the gravy. My family put boiled eggs in the dressing. Now, my mama always made cornbread dressing. Now, at this point, I'm going to add some more liquid because it's just not quite, you don't want it to be soup, but when I say soupy, I mean a little wetter. So you can determine if you want to use more milk, more broth, more whatever. So I'm going to use a little bit of milk since I've used quite a bit of broth.
Tell them whose recipe this is.
This is Bryant's grandma's recipe. And she made absolutely the world's greatest dressing. Caroline, my daughter, they would just about have to send a pan home with her when she was a little girl. She loved it so much. So I was super excited to get the recipe. Bryant's sister shared it with me. And
tell them what Grandma did for 53 years.
Oh, Miss Lori, if you're still on here, you would love to know what Bryant's grandma did. She was a cafeteria. She worked at the school cafeteria. She worked there so long, she was able to retire twice. 53 years. She was actually we had a local news station that did highlights on people around the state. And she was actually it was called Roy's Folks. And she was actually one of Roy's folks and was able to be on his channel. And she was such a quiet, sweet, just a very quiet person. And to see her on Roy's Folks and on TV was something else. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can show y'all this. Can y'all see? I don't know. Can they see the? It's. You can hear that it's good and moist, but it's not like runny. Now it'll flop, but that's the texture you want. Now I'm gonna put it in greased pans. We like ours fairly thin, but
about
you
an
can
1.5 to 2 inches thick.
about an 1.5 to 2 inches thick. But if you like a thicker, then by all means, I'm going to divide mine up into 2 pans, and but you don't have to. You may like a thicker dressing, and that's totally fine. And in the morning, when I take this, I'm gonna stick it in the refrigerator. When I take the tin foil out, it may look like it needs a little more liquid. So what I would do is I just take some chicken broth and kind of pour on the top and moisten it back up. And that's before I bake it. So I'm gonna try to do this. This is where I need muscles. We have a crowd coming. How many folks do you guys have coming to your Thanksgiving festivities? We actually,
We did my family last Sunday,
yes, we went to Bryant's family's last Sunday.
and there was about 3 there.
Oh yeah, it was a huge crowd. We'll do my immediate family, Caroline, Jamie, Isaac, Jessica, the grandbabies. We'll do all of us tomorrow. Jamie's parents will be here. My niece will be here. My brother will be here. Who else? My niece and her little boy and a friend of hers are coming. I can't remember who else. But anyway. Oh, and Jamie has an aunt and uncle that may be coming.
Tell him Maria was coming.
Yes, Maria from Maria Cooks with Love. I know you guys have asked me where she's been. She has actually gone back to work, but she's also, their family has been really sick. And her husband Pepe were coming to Thanksgiving, but they've been sick. They've got the flu. They've had a rough time of it. Okay, so here is our dressing. I'll put tin foil on it, stick it in the refrigerator. I'll bake it tomorrow at about 350 degrees for 45 minutes to an hour. It could take as much as an hour and a half. We don't usually eat till around 3, so that's why I'm not baking it tonight. Tomorrow I will get up in the morning and be a mad woman running around here making a ham and turkey, baking my dressing, getting the rolls out, peeling the potatoes, getting the green beans going. I'm so thankful. Caroline is doing candy jam, she's doing broccoli casserole, and she's doing macaroni and cheese. Jamie's mom is doing deviled eggs, she's doing a cranberry dish, something else, several things. So I've got a lot of help, and that takes a load off. So, but we are gonna just, I did spray my pans with some butter spray. Thank you, dog. I love it when my sous chef is in the kitchen with me. All right, are there any questions or comments?
We can field some comments now, since you can talk.
Yeah.
Ask them what's the one side they can't do without.
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. What's the one side you guys can't do without that you just have to have on Thanksgiving?
Like somebody asked what size pans out of 9 by 12.
Okay, the first pan is a little bit bigger than a 9 by 13. It's whatever the next size up is. Do you remember we ordered it for my party mix?
I don't recall.
11 by
13.
No, 11 by 15 maybe. All right, this is a 9 by 13. I say it's a 9. It's probably a 9 by 15. So the one dishes I can't do without.
10.
Well, one is the dressing.
10 by 14.
This is a
9 by 13. 10 by 14.
10 by 14. So there you go. And then this is a 9 by 13. And like I said, we like ours I mean, we don't like a big 3-inch piece of dressing. And remember, in the morning, if I open up the tin foil and I see, oh, it looks a little dry, I'll just take some chicken broth or milk or whatever and just kind of pour over it, take a spoon and pat it and just add some more liquid to it. I had a friend of mine make this dressing. She's a school teacher and they were doing it at a private school. And
she made it this week.
She made it this week. She's a teacher at a private school, so they were having an actual Thanksgiving meal together. And so she made the dressing, and she said it was a huge hit. So I'm telling you, you've got to give this a try. It is super good. My aunt, who is a delicious and wonderful cook, called me the other day to get the same recipe. So I'm telling you, you just need to at least try it.
It's a good moist dressing. It
is so moist and it's so delicious. And the fact that it has meat in it, it kind of makes it even heartier than dressing already is.
Bacon uncovered or covered?
It depends on your oven. I think I cook mine uncovered unless I see that the top is getting too brown and it's not done enough, but that's never really happened to me. But if it did, I would cover it but start it out uncovered. But yeah, I think it's fine. And this is so good to cook ahead of time and then just warm back up. This is delicious. A great side dish. It's very versatile. In fact, the teacher I was telling you about, she wanted to know how she could take it to school and heat it back up. And I said, she had already cut it into the squares. And I said, just throw those squares in a crock pot, turn it on low. Maybe take your hand under some water and sprinkle some water in there or chicken broth or whatever. Put the lid on and just turn it on as low as your crock pot would go. And just for, a little bit, just till it heats back up. And she said it was wonderful. So, what were the side dishes? Did anybody answer?
Yeah, you had a lot of dressings. Miss Lori says she loves cranberry sauce, and she makes it homemade, but she has to admit she likes the jelly cranberry sauce in a can.
I do too. Except for this year, I did make my own cranberry sauce and I canned it. To me, when you make it at home, there's just a slight bitterness to it that's not in the can. For some reason, it's not in the can. But I really liked the one I did this year. I added a little cinnamon to it and I added pineapple to it, and it just made it something special. So that's what we'll have. My son-in-law's mom is bringing a cranberry fluff, and I'm going to open a couple of jars of my home canned cranberry sauce, and I'm actually looking forward to it. But you're right. The ones I've made in the past have kind of had a bitterness to it, but
sweet potato casserole, pineapple casserole, dumplings, buttery mashed potatoes.
Dumplings. Now that's interesting.
Yeah. Gravy. I saw noodles. Just a conglomerate of things. So
we don't do a sweet potato casserole. We do sweet potato pies for dessert, and we do. Now Bryant loves the sweet potato casserole. Don't get me wrong, he loves it. But my specialty dish is candy jams. And I've actually passed that on to Caroline now, and I've taught her how to make it. So she makes candy jams. So instead of sweet potato casserole, we have candy jams.
Show them that cake you made today.
Oh, okay. Let's go over here. Oh,
grab it,
you want me to bring it over here? Okay.
Yep. There's a piece missing.
Yes, Bryant's been in it, and we actually haven't even done the taste test yet. This video will probably be coming up for you on Friday, but this is an oatmeal cake, and it is, I was going to drop it on the counter, but I'm afraid it is heavy. This is a heavy cake, but it is so moist and so delicious, and you actually broil the icing. You put the icing on it, stick it under the broiler, but we call it our farmhouse cake, and it is delicious.
Really, really good.
All right. Any other questions or comments, or like, how is your day going to go tomorrow? Are you going to get up and be like a mad woman like I will? Because I haven't done anything. I haven't cleaned. I haven't I'm using paper plates because we have so many people coming. Usually I break out the good china or the good dishes. But because we're going to have such a crowd, and I'm just doing the oval paper plates just to make cleanup easy, because I'd rather spend time with my family than cleaning up. And Cindy, which is my son-in-law's mom, she's so helpful to clean. Her and Caroline jump in here and clean, and I just didn't want them to have to do a lot. So
all right, what time are you going to be live tomorrow? You're doing a couple lives tomorrow too,
well,
right?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know if I can give a, hey, it's coming, or if we just get on and go. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I don't even know if we can put out we'll be up a post that will be live in 10 minutes.
What
or
are
whatever.
you going to do? What are you going to do in your live tomorrow?
I don't know. I may show you how I get my turkey ready to go in the oven.
Tell them a little bit what's happening there.
Well, right now my turkey is sitting in a delicious, delicious brine. I have used the Pioneer Woman's brine for years, and I don't think I'll ever do turkey any other way. Now, I've done turkey every which way but loose. I've done turkey, and this brine in the turkey has been the best way. My family says they never want me to do it any other way, and I won't. So, well, I mean, I say I won't. I mean, unless this new fantastic idea comes up, but right now the brine.
It's juicy and moist.
Yeah, it's in apple juice, water, brown sugar, salt, rosemary, orange peel, peppercorns, garlic. You know, bay leaves. It's soaking in some good stuff. So that's what I'll do in the morning is I'll get it out of the brine, rinse it, wash it off really good, pat it dry. I'll have some butter ready. I'll put some rosemary, some onions, some celery in the cavity, some sage, salt, and pepper, and it's going to be delicious. And I get to use my new pan that I got the other day when we were shopping. I need to go get it out and get it washed up. I haven't even done that yet. Anything else before we sign off of here?
Somebody else, Darcy Weatherman, says she does the Pioneer Woman's brine as well.
It is so good. All right, well, I'm going to get this dressing covered with some tin foil. I'm going to stick it in the refrigerator. And then at some point in the morning, I'll get it in the oven. And like I said, it'll bake probably around an hour. And I test it just like I do a cake. Stick a knife in it when it comes out clean.
And you'll link the former video in there too,
yes,
right?
I'll link the former video, and I'll try to copy and paste the original recipe of just one batch in there. Now, I do know in that recipe, I do not tell you how much sage and salt and pepper to put in, because that's kind of a personal preference. So you may want to season it before you put the eggs in it. That way you can reach in and get you a little taste and taste it to see if it has enough salt, pepper, and sage. If you're funny about eggs. I personally am not funny about eggs, but if you are, then I would save them till last, and then salt, pepper, and sage it, and then taste and see if it's to your liking, and then add your eggs. So, all right, guys. Well, I hope you rest well tonight, because you have a big day tomorrow. I hope you have a big day tomorrow, and if you don't, then you just watch me and you'll have a big day with me. You can join me via YouTube, and we'll be on. Vlogmas, I said I was going to start that after Thanksgiving. It probably won't start, actual Vlogmas won't start till Saturday because we'll film on Friday and you'll see it on Saturday. But there will be a video on Friday. It'll probably be the farmhouse cake. So
Miss Lori said, have a blessed Thanksgiving. We love y'all.
you
Bye-bye.
too, Miss Lori. We love you and we are so thankful for you and your friendship and mentoring me on YouTube. I would not be at 100,000 subscribers without Miss Lori, without several other people, without Jeffrey at Old School Soul Food, so many wonderful YouTubers, and Tammy over at Collard Valley Cooks that have given me shout outs and have done collaborations with me, and I'm so very, very grateful and indebted. So we love you guys. Remember, Jesus loves you so very much, and I hope that he is the Lord of your life. And if he's not and you have questions, you can definitely reach out to us and we would love to tell you more about our Savior. So, okay guys, have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. Remember, if the grease is hot enough, you can fry anything. Bye y'all.